Hey everybody, this is the Connection Experience with Dr. Shani. So last week we talked about learned helplessness, and today's video is going to be on core beliefs. And they are sort of related. So if you want to go back and review learned helplessness and then watch this next, you can put all the pieces together. So a core belief is a message about ourselves that comes from our deepest pains of the past. They are ingrained, they are very, very stable, they're really hard to restructure, they're unkind, inaccurate, and distorted based on painful experiences with people in the past. So, an example of a core belief, of a negative core belief, could be I am unlovable. I am unworthy. I am undeserving. I am not good enough. And these core beliefs can come from abandonment, neglect, abuse, any kind of mistreatment that says uh, you don't deserve better, you're not worthy, you're disposable, and we internalize that. We internalize that experience and we make that message about our whole being. And it's like an old best friend, a historical best friend that you just can't get rid of. They're not necessarily a best friend, as in they are good to us. They are just the best friend, like they are stable and they are always there. And we carry that voice with us every day. It shows up in everything that we do. It can really deplete our joy and our pride in ourselves. It can trigger us. In fact, core beliefs are probably one of the more powerful triggers in our lives. Anytime something uncomfortable happens between you and another person, it can really elicit a lot of strong emotion, and that emotion can come from that core belief. Imagine if you have a date with a friend and a friend cancels on you. And instead of it just being, oh, they just couldn't make it today, it becomes, they don't like me, they didn't want to hang out with me, why don't I have any friends? And then the spiral just keeps on going. And that's because in that moment, a core belief that you are unlikable or unlovable got triggered. And so if you're ever wondering why your reaction is so intense, more intense than the situation, you want to check that core belief. What's happening here? Why am I feeling so strongly about this? And most likely it's that voice that says you're unlovable. And that can be really painful in situations that may not have to be that hurtful. So, a few things to know about core beliefs and how to combat them. The first is we all have that self critic in our head that says, do better. Um, oh, you know you shouldn't have done that, or you know you didn't do your best there. And there is self-compassion that you can use to restructure that thought so that the core belief doesn't get triggered. Instead of saying, I really messed up this time, I'm not good enough, and I'm never going to be anything, a more compassionate voice would say, okay, you didn't get it this time. But what can you do so that you can try again next time and maybe be more successful? Everybody makes mistakes. Failure is a part of success. Don't worry about it. You did your best. These are more self-compassionate ways to talk to yourself when things go wrong. The negative core belief, that voice is going to tell you the worst about yourself. Things that are not going to encourage or re-energize you to keep trying at a relationship, to make healthy choices for yourself. That core belief isn't going to do that for you. It's going to take that away from you. The second thing is, even though you may have been a victim of abandonment or neglect or abuse, that does not strip you of your personal power to heal. Healing is still possible. If you use self-compassion, it changes that voice over time, right? The third thing to know is that everyone has a different capacity for empathy and kindness and being genuine. And if we are always going to assess ourselves based on someone else's capabilities, we in trouble, okay? Because everyone has a different threshold for it. Some people are more kind than others, just naturally. So if I had to measure my worth or measure my value based on someone else's ability to be kind and empathetic to me, I'm in trouble. Because we're not always going to encounter people who know how to be that way naturally, or or by nurture. They don't know. And so if I assess someone else's treatment of me as fact that I deserve that treatment, you can see how the core belief would get more powerful. I'm being treated this way because I deserve it. I'm being treated this way because they're right about me. Well, now that core belief has more power. And every time we do that in our heads, it gets stronger and stronger and more stable and more permanent and more believable. The self-compassionate statements people have a hard time believing in because we're not practiced at it. We don't treat ourselves kindly all day, every day. Instead, when other people dismiss us or neglect us or abuse us or abandon us, we feel like that's how we're supposed to be treated because we're not good enough. And the last thing to remember is you can fill that hole yourself. You can do it. You can reparent the inner child that was hurt. Give yourself what you thought that other person was supposed to give to you. If it was kindness, if it was support, if it was trust and security, if it was compassion, give it to yourself. You can heal those wounds. You can fill that void. It's wonderful when someone else can validate us, but if we have to always depend on that validation to feel whole, again, we're in trouble. So go back and look at the learned helplessness video, connect the two, because what happens from the learned helplessness is that we also start to believe that we are powerless over our circumstances. You add that in with a negative core belief that you are undeserving, unworthy, not valuable, and unloved, then that goes back into this is always going to feel this way because I am unlovable and that cannot be changed. And so this is just going to be my life. So that's how the two of them are connected. And you can heal yourself. You do not have to be stuck in that place. Be kind to yourself. Reparent that inner child that was hurt. Give yourself the corrective experience that you so badly need from other people. Most of us don't get an apology from our offenders. Most of us don't get that corrective experience from the people who have hurt us. And that does not mean we have to be in this constant state of pain. Fill the void. Make healthy choices for yourself every day in your head. Make a healthy choice. Do the hard thing and tell yourself you're good, you're enough, you're lovable. Okay? Until next week, this is Dr. Shani, The Connection Experience. Bye-bye.